I see paint as a tool, right? And a tool that, that it needs to be able to help me express my ideas and the emotions. And if it doesn't do that, then it doesn't function where I need to function, especially coming from like a developing country where you don't always have access to the best paint, or you don't have a variety. So I could be working with like one of the best tubes of acrylic to fabric paint, to watercolors, as long as it helps me create what I want to create. Okay, so hi, my name is Teresa Kutala Firmino. I'm a painter, an artist. My work, I could describe it as an archive of my ideas. What I basically do is like collect, stories in my history, in African history, in world history in general, and then recreate them in this room, stages. So I work like in a process. So first I do like the background, like a solid background, which is usually the room, and I'll start with the floor. So I usually have like a really dark floor, and then a dark floor will kind of inform what colors I'll use on the walls. Then after that, it just becomes whatever I want it to become. I collect like images from history, from the internet, from photographs, from magazines, and then I collage them. So I paste them to kind of create the scene of the characters, and then I work on the collages to create a certain character if I want them to be green or blue. And then after that, I have this thing where I call balancing the painting. So now I have the background, and then I have the characters, and then I start adding bits and pieces to kind of create the whole painting. So my very first series was called The Ward Home. So my family history is very complicated. So we are like a group of Angolans in South Africa. And it started with the military. The South African military at the time wanted to intervene in the Angolan Civil War. So what the military did was kind of recruit young rebels. Some of them got into the army when they were 16. So all they knew was the war. But a lot of people don't know is that those men got married at some point and they had children. But then because the unit was secret, a lot of things such as domestic violence and rape and abuse was kind of dealt with either by the military police or by the church. And basically what I began doing is kind of like creating the war at home, which is the war that the women were experiencing. And I would create the stages where I would rewrite the stories of the women in these rooms and what could have happened to them in those rooms, because all the stories that I got are like oral history from the women themselves, from the men, especially from my own family and the stories they had of the woman. So the very first series was called The Ward Home. I had the solo show at Everard Reed Gallery at the time. And then after a while, it just became part of my work. So the rooms just kind of became part of my work. One day I was just like working on a painting and I had like this navy blue wall and I felt like it was too flat, So I was like, okay, what happens if I take a circle, like a yellow circle, and put it on the navy blue wall, and then suddenly it create like an illusion of light. And then when I worked on the characters, you would think there's light in the room, even though it's like a dark room with like a dark floor and a navy blue wall. Just a little circle on the side creates like this illusion that there's a light coming in from somewhere by using these little tools that I have, that I learn as I go and I experiment as I go. Some things don't work and I've let go of them. And for example, something like the circle, is just does the work that it needs to do. And it has stayed in my paintings. And some of the paintings don't need that, But I see that if I work in a really large painting, just adding like a little orange circle, just to, for example, if you have a completely green room and just have an orange circle like on the corner of the room, does something to the eye. So one of the things I can't seem to let go and I've completely fell in love with is like blue pigment, right? I know I have a series called Black Melancholy, which that time when I was translating it was like black and blue, and was basically looking at using like the blue pigment as a way to represent black skin as in the black race. Blue for me can be a lot darker than black, and it expresses that idea of like the black melancholy a lot more than just painting someone brown or black. And I every time, sometimes I'll have like all the characters are a certain color, and I'll just have that one blue character, especially if I'm speaking about black history and black trauma, especially navy blue. There's something about navy blue representing the black skin that I just love. I always buy the biggest tube of navy blue, and then I always like rework it. One of the artists I was completely obsessed with, and I had the opportunity to meet him a few years ago at the Goodman Gallery, was Hinka Shinabari. I just love how he uses like the African fabric to speak about history, and how he's able to cover the whole body with the fabric. Someone like Wengechi Mutu as well, where she like uses like beads and paint and wax to create like those weird mystical characters. Someone once told me like, even though I look at your characters, I still see them as black bodies, even though they are blue, green, yellow, and I feel like Wengechi Mutu does that as well. She represents the black female body, but even though they are not brown or black, but the features that she uses on her characters, and the use of like all those different medias, for me is I wish I had it's something that I'm also trying in my work to kind of keep on adding. Those are the two artists that really inspired me when I was in varsity, and I hope that I'll be able to grow and be listed as in the same list of artists as they are in. End of last year to this year, I've been working on a project called Manifestations of Akuyongola, which is Umbundu for Akuyongola is Umbundu for wanting, and basically referencing Ojilot's text, the erotic as power. I can go on about how growing up as a young Catholic black female, and reading the text at home, and that it going completely over my head, like what does she mean, and then reading that now as a much older woman and kind of like understanding it better, and then someone translated it to manifestations of desire, but I'm like, it's not desire, it's wanting. And how what's more radical than a woman wanting something, right? So I begin my research in that way, right? And then I'm like, okay, what are the images that can help me recreate something like that? I think as an artist, it's important to experiment. It's important to let go. One of the things that people always ask me is like, when do you know a painting is finished? Like it's never finished. You just carry on the next canvas. That's what you do. You let go, because sometimes you can do too much. So sometimes just let go, be like, it's fine, it's done, and just carry on what you wanted to do in the next canvas. Yeah.